We have been married for 2 years. My husband became the new president when my father-in-law retired. He had always respected his father and he had worked hard to succeed him. He was delighted to be named his successor. I had been working part-time as well. My father-in-law arranged for me to continue to work there. On the day my husband George's appointment was decided, we celebrated together. We promised to do our best together from now on. 1 year after he became president, I became George's secretary and accountant. I would support George as he worked hard every day. I decided to do so, and although the dual role was tough, I worked hard to make sure everything was in order. George became more and more arrogant about his position as president. The gentle character he once had was now nowhere to be found. His work was now centered on entertaining guests and playing golf. I would do the paperwork for him and he would just stamp it. When the guests come to our office, he handles it only if it fits him, otherwise I would handle it. Sometimes he would lie and say he wasn't available. He would lie about his absence and have the executive director or managing director take care of the work for him. He became arrogant in his personal life as well. He would only come home 2 days out of the week. He says he was on a business trip or was entertaining the company's guests, but he couldn't prove it from the receipts I got. The suspicions only grew. George, who had a reputation as such a loving husband, no longer smiled at me, but gave me condescending looks and cold stares. The employees began to express their dissatisfaction with George's self-serving attitude. The leadership of the company would collapse if things continued as they were. The company that my father-in-law had built up to this point, and with such trust, I don't want to destroy it by creating such an atmosphere of tension. But I think it's only natural to be dissatisfied with George. I hope it's at least a comfort to the colleagues, and I told them, I'm sure he's just acting high and mighty right now, but he'll be back to the serious president he used to be. Yes, it must be just for now. Then one day, I came home to find the door unlocked and a pair of shoes belonging to a woman I didn't know. I was almost overcome with fear, but I decided to open the door to the living room. Are you George's wife by any chance? I borrowed his key and entered the house without permission. I just came to get a change of clothes for George. A young woman was there. She was rummaging around in the travel bag, putting George's clothes in there. I grabbed the woman's arm as she was leaving, pretending as if nothing had happened, and questioned her. Where are you going with my husband's clothes? And why do you have the house key? 2 questions burst out of my bewildered head, and I must ask what kind of relationship they are. My heart starts pounding, and I found it hard to breathe. The woman shakes off my hand and... It hurts! George says I'm better than you. I'm young, have still a bright future, and beautiful. He hardly ever comes home right now, does he? He's not coming home. He is in my house, you know. You're an incompetent old woman. You should stay miserably at home and wait for your husband who doesn't come home. And you should eat your dinner alone. A woman like that who laughs through her nose and seems to enjoy. I mean, this person is George's adulterous partner, and he's cursing me like that behind my back? To be honest, he doesn't have a good taste. From the way she is dressed, her makeup, and the time of day I wonder if she is a hostess. I don't mean to disparage anyone who works at night entertainment, but from her attitude and the way she talks, because I can see that she is not well educated. If she works at night, she is not cut out for it. People who work hard in that world have class. Above all, they have common sense. And yet, what the hell? The woman in front of me? Isn't she an insane person whose only strength is her youth? I felt anger and sadness running through me in an instant. I was no longer sad. Rather, I was calmly dismayed at how stupid he was. The woman was gone before I knew it. She told me I wasn't even young, but George was 35 and I was 25. I don't know what he's talking about when he got a wife 10 years younger than him. At any rate, with that woman I just met. I didn't want to see her again, so I started cleaning up the house. After the vacation break, I came to work carrying a large bag of stuff. The employees were surprised to see me and approached me. I only thanked them for their kindness and went straight into the president's office. "Hey, you're late." The clock struck 10. George was irritated with me being an hour late. You also cut here, didn't you?" I almost said so, but I could see that he was going to yell at me. I didn't say anything and put my big baggage on the couch. "What's that?" "Your luggage was in the house. I sent the big stuff to your parents' house, and I figured if you weren't coming back, I should act like that. I already canceled the lease." George was not happy about the sudden cancellation of his lease, but I asked him to be quiet because we are in the office. To be honest, I thought we could support each other forever, so I'm sad to see you go, but since you became president, you have changed too much. I've decided to leave that house where I have so many memories, in the hope that he'll return to his true George. I hope that you realize how foolish you are now, even if only a little. I would like to go back to being a couple again someday. That is what I thought. And yet, instead of thinking about it, George even started to bring that woman to the office with him. I told his employees that she was a business partner. She comes in and out 3 times a week. Each time I went to serve her tea and I had to bow to her, which was extremely unpleasant. I thought her clothes and makeup were too over for a business partner. I began to hear rumors that she might be a boss's mistress. Rumors began to circulate like that. As his wife, my position in the company was getting more unpleasant. Finally, I was called into the president's office and he introduced me to that mistress as his girlfriend. The woman looked at me with a victorious look on her face. I suppressed my anger, trying not to make an eye contact. "So, are you admitting to adultery?" I suppressed the urge to raise my voice and I asked him in a normal tone as possible. "Are you jealous? But it has nothing to do with you. I'll use this money for a trip starting tomorrow." George, who looked down at me to the end, showed me a familiar bank book. "Why do you have that? Give it back. It's a bank book I've been saving up to open my own grocery store in the future." She found it when she went to get my stuff. I'd be very grateful for it. Listen to me. Disobey me and you are divorced. What you're doing is stealing. You can't just go into someone's house and steal their bank book. I glared at the woman. Then my husband smacked me on the cheek with his already filled-in divorce papers. "Why don't you say something, huh?" I had run out of patience. I snatched the divorce paper from his hand. I filled it out on the spot and handed it back to him. I guess he didn't expect me to agree to a divorce. George looked at me with a pout. Instead, the woman took the divorce papers from my hand, and at the moment, I took the bank book back from him. "This is the money for my future that I worked so hard for. If you want a divorce, I'd be glad to, but what you did is a crime. I will never forgive you." When I get angry, George starts yelling at me. "You know, you will get fired from your job here too. Well, you are just a former part-timer. She can do the same job better than you can. I do not care if you leave." I'm not bothered by George making fun of me because I'm a part-timer. I was completely fed up with him and walked out of the president's office. It's so crazy, but George went on a trip the next day and didn't come to work. While he was gone, I completed my resignation and left the company. Then I headed to my father-in-law's new company. My father-in-law had been fond of my work since my part-time days. He had suggested not to work at George's company, but with him. I had turned down the offer because I wanted to support George. However, when I discussed this matter with him along with the divorce report, he asked me to come work for him again.
Welcome to the office.
My father-in-law, who greeted me kindly, gladly hired me, and he even made me a full-time employee. I was able to regain my fulfilling life in a comfortable working environment. My father-in-law's leadership of his employees and his caring attitude toward his employees were all things I had come to know and respect about him. I think of all the employees who were still working at George's company. I feel a little sorry when I think of them. Then one day, George came to our office. He looks like a different person, emaciated and gaunt. George's father sends him to the president's office and begins to talk to him.
I was wrong about everything. Please come back to my company, please.
George, who wants me to come back by hanging on to me, and then my father-in-law pulls him off of me.
Are you feeling grateful for the wife you've given up now? And even if you realize how capable she is as an employee, it's too late. Come in.
And then my father-in-law called out to the people who came in. They were the managers of George's company. They will be working here from today.
Huh?
George's face pales at the statement, and he stuffs it in his face, asking why.
I heard all about it, how you were pushing your work to your subordinates, that you didn't earn their trust, and that you were doing whatever you wanted at the company's expense. And the fact that even though Lena prosecuted about the bank book, but no one took it up, that's because you covered it up with the money. I heard that you gave Lena's job, which you ridiculed as a part-time job, to your new girlfriend, but she couldn't do anything perfectly, and because of her, your business partners cut the contract with you. I know you are in a dangerous situation right now, but I don't plan to help you. And I don't want to waste the career of my valued employees. These people came here on their own volition. Your current incompetent secretary filled her resignation. You let the servants' process end up in the palm of your hand. There's nothing you can do about it. You should be ashamed of the stupidity of your past actions. He must have thought that his father would help him. George standing there in the middle of the unexpected turn of events. I feel sorry for him, but as my father-in-law said, he deserved it, so it can't be helped.
Mr. President, thank you for your help in the short time I was with you. They are the people who had climbed to management positions. No matter how useless the top management is, they treat him with courtesy until the end. Seeing such former subordinates, George, who is reluctant to leave, will he reflect himself this time? A few months later, George's company went bankrupt. George has no place to go, and the woman he was with at the time has left him. He is now living a part-time life. With the help of his father-in-law, I succeeded in suing that woman again for theft. After that, I was able to get the money from her, who identified herself as Brown. I was able to receive it without incident. She is now looking for a new partner to take advantage of again, and she was sued by other women too. So she intends to have a partner pay her, but she has no one to pay them. She was fired from the hostess club where she worked. She was so desperate for money that she went into theft, and she was successfully arrested. She is now living her second life behind bars. And what happened to me since then?
Lena, I have a new business venture, a revolving grocery store. I'd like to put you in charge of it. Do you want to try it?
Yes, I would like to. Please let me try. 3 months ago, I transferred to a new business, a company of my father-in-law. It is a new business venture, and I was given the responsibility to manage the first store. That will be a general merchandise store that aims to expand nationwide. A dream that unexpectedly came true. From opening the store to attracting customers, it wasn't easy. But I am grateful to my friends who supported me and to my father-in-law who expects a lot from me. Above all, I was able to do my best for what I love. Welcome to the store. I'm now able to stand proudly in front of the store as a store manager. I can do what I always wanted to do. My dream of owning a store has come true. I am now running through my days intending to expand nationwide. I can say that I am a happy person now. Make my future brighter. I will continue to face any difficulties that may come my way.
Something is wrong. He was grinning wickedly. Then he laughed and said, "No way to let an old hag in my house anymore. I want a divorce." I was surprised at such a sudden declaration of divorce, but there was only one answer. "Yeah, okay." "What?" Eric's voice came out of his head. "Are you serious?" "My name is Naomi. I'm 47-year-old office lady. My husband Eric and I have been married for 23 years. He is 50 years old, 3 years older than me, a senior manager of a normal company. When we were just got married, he loved me so much and we had a happy married life. But now our relationship has completely cooled off. We have one daughter who graduated from college. When she got a job, she left home and started living alone. After we were left alone as a couple, we hardly even talk to each other. And when we do talk, it's usually some sort of an argument. Eric has never helped me with the housework. I just get more and more frustrated every day. One day, I came home after working late. But when I come into, he's laying on the sofa and doing nothing but just watching TV. I'm sure he knew I was home. But he said nothing, not even looked at me. I was wondering if he's home earlier than I am. At least prepare the dinner, or at least clean yourself up. But Eric never does anything like that. On the contrary, he's the kind of person who leaves his clothes on the floor. "Hey, put your own clothes in the laundry basket, okay?" "Okay, we'll do that later." "When is your later?" "After the dinner." "I'm starving. Where is our dinner?" "Even you say so. Didn't you see me getting home just now? If you are going to complain like that, just wait until it's done or help me." "No, I'm tired from work. Besides, housework is a woman's job. Stop complaining and do your job." "I don't like the way you talk to me. Doesn't sound like from a respect for senior manager." "Well, no matter what you say, I am the boss, and everyone loves me." "I don't believe it. I don't think any of your subordinates would follow you." "That's it. What a mean wife. Isn't your fault for working overtime in the first place?" "Now is a busy season. Everyone else is working overtime. It doesn't matter if we're good or not." "Then everyone at the company you work for is dumped at their job." "Huh? Stop making fun of my co-workers and subordinates." "Then why don't you quit your job?" "What would I do that? I work because I like my job. And it was you said that I could keep working after we got married." "That was a long time ago. I don't know how miserable is this company, which has to hire an old hack like you." "An old hack? Don't you dare talk to me like that." "I'm just telling you the truth. Shut your mouth up and just get on your job. Our dinner, now." "Whatever. I'm going out for my dinner." "Hey, seriously?" I decided to end this nonsense argument and went out. And that's how it looks like when I was with Eric, fighting all the time. When we had our daughter at home, we used to have conversations as a family, but now that she's gone, all the conversations we had are arguments. I thought Eric and I were married in love. How did our relationship turn so cold? Moreover, the reason we got together was because Eric made an aggressive approach to me. During our relationship, he was extremely kind to me and did a lot for me. We got married because he proposed to me. I thought it was a woman's happiness to be loved and married. That fact that Eric has turned into such a cold person towards me makes me feel so frustrated. I felt he's changed in the last few years. I could have a feeling that he's cheating on me. But he is very careful about it. I can't find a shred of evidence to prove it. I did think about hiring an agency, but there is a part of me that still believes in Eric. I know it may sound crazy that our relationship went that this cold, but we've been together for 23 years. I wanted to believe in him. I had a lot of difficult days like that, and every time when I was with him, I feel nothing but disappointed. After a few months of working hard and housework, Eric told me that he had something to talk to me. What on earth does he want? What do you want? Something is wrong. He was grinning wickedly, and then he laughed and said, I can't have an old hug anymore. I want a divorce. I was surprised at such a sudden declaration of divorce, but there was only one answer. Yeah, okay. What? Eric's voice came out of his head. Are you serious? We're talking about divorce. Yet I know what we are talking about. It means to end our marriage. Do you? You know how much trouble you'd get into if we got divorced. I mean, don't you care about what people think? I know it will be a rough time, but I'm working now, and I don't care about what people think. There are divorced people all over the world. Yeah, well, I mean, you are the one who proposed the divorce, and now what's your concern? Don't tell me you expected me to say that I don't want a divorce. No, just didn't think you'd say yes so easily. It was you saying that you wanted a divorce. Doesn't this make you feel satisfied if I say yes to you? Yes, that's true, but, what? It's a threat or what? You're just saying without actually wanting a divorce? No, of course. Then let's get a divorce. Well, the divorce papers. I don't have them right now. I thought you prepared everything. What a dumb. Shut up, I'll be right back. I'll get them right now. Eric took the divorce papers right away under my provocation. Are you really sure about that? Oh my goodness, just filled up the goddamn divorce papers. Okay. Just let you know, I'm not having an affair. Why are you saying this all of a sudden? I told you I'm not having an affair. It's more suspicious that you said that. Let's make a firm decision of property. Eric seemed quite surprised that I accepted the divorce so readily. But I guess that's not surprising, considering the way he's been behaving and the terrible outburst he's been making. I mean, who wouldn't want a divorce? I just have a good job, and we don't have any problems making ends meet. After the divorce was finalized, I immediately called our daughter to tell her that we were divorcing. As you can imagine, my daughter was surprised. She had seen and heard her dad's words and attitude toward me. She was convinced that I had agreed to the divorce right away. By the way, has he called or texted you? I haven't gotten one yet, but I'm sure I get one today. Eric has spoiled our daughter to show his love, but our daughter doesn't like him that much. When she was a child, he was busy with work and never showed up in any parent-child activities. They made her feel very lonely. And because she witnessed the swears and attitude he had towards me, as she grows older, she is disgusted with her father more and more. That's really a jerk. The most horrible father. Oh wait, I just got a message from him. What did he say? He said you're sleeping up, and he said he's lonely and wants me to come over. I don't want to meet him at all, but I'm glad that I can see you without any worries, Mom. Let's go out for dinner sometime. Yeah, sure. Yay! But why did Dad suddenly ask for a divorce? Isn't it strange? Well, he said he wasn't cheating on me, which I didn't even ask him about. Maybe he's having an affair. What? If he was, he'd be really a jerk. Well, I'm just speculating. If it's true, I'm not going to see him anymore. After that conversation, I hung up the phone with my daughter. About a month or later, I went to the cafe where I was meeting my daughter. Mom, it's been a while. 6 months since last time. You look great and your face is glowing. Maybe it's because I'm stress-free now. You live alone now, right? Yes, I live in an apartment near my office. It's a lot helpful for the traffic, and no need to do chores for 2 people anymore. I have a lot more time and spend with my friends and hobbies. I'm just happy now. That's great. You know, if this is what it's come to, I wish I'd gotten divorced earlier. You're right. Who doesn't hate serving a person with that disturbing look? I really do. Know what? He called me an old hag. He did? That's disgusting. After a brief conversation with my daughter, she started talking about something a little awkwardly. You know, about that thing the other day, you were saying that might be having an affair. I was curious, so I asked the agency to look into it. Oh, really? Did you get the results? Yes, here are the results. I nervously read the results my daughter handed me, and there were pictures of Eric with a young woman, holding arms happily in hotels and homes. He cheated on me, didn't he? How else could it be possible? I was shocked. I was right. He left me for another woman. Mom, there's no time to be sad. We've got the evidence. I think you should get your alimony. I know. By the way, the agent you hired, I have to pay the money. You can do that after you get the alimony from Dad. But I don't know how can I prove this adultery. There's chances he did it after we divorced. Actually, I already have the proof. What? What do you mean? She showed me another document. These are the conversations between Dad and his lover. How did you get it? I happened to use him. According to the story, my daughter went to Eric's house to see him. She served him a home-cooked meal and made him drink a lot of wine. He was so happy to see his daughter and got to enjoy the food, the wine prepared from her. So he drank a ton and was completely drunk. And our daughter used his hand to open the fingerprint authentication of his phone. She took a screenshot of the conversations he had with the lover in WhatsApp and sent it to her own account to get proof. Oh my dear, you're amazing. Because I just can't forget Dad for cheating on you and having an affair. That's enough for you to win. Yes, thank you. We're going to fight him and his lover. Then we will need to call Eric and tell him I want to talk about the alimony. He won't come if I'm here. So my daughter asked to meet him alone, and we're going to catch him at a cafe. When my daughter and Eric arrived, I showed up and sit down. Then Eric gave me a very disapproving look. Why is she here? I don't want to see you either, but I have something important to tell you. What? What do you want to talk about? You were having an affair, weren't you? What are you talking about? I told you at the time of the divorce that I wasn't having an affair. You seem to be able to hide it well then. Well, you can't blame the professionals on doing their job too well. I said that, and I spread out on the table the photos my daughter got from the agency. Eric was surprised. This is the woman I'm with after breaking up with you. So I wasn't cheating. Well, I knew you'd say that. Actually, there's something more. What? And I showed him what our daughter prepared for us. I showed him the printout of the conversations in WhatsApp. These are all dated when we were still married. That, along with the photos from earlier, is definitely evidence. How did you get this? The day we drank at home, I looked up your phone and copied everything. You did that? That's not appropriate. You can't just check someone's phone without permission. Don't you tell me what's not appropriate. You have a wife and a daughter. You are a family man, but you think it's appropriate to just destroy this family? And now you're here teaching me what's appropriate? Bullshit. I hate you. Hearing his dearest daughter hates him, Eric got pale. I have all this evidence and I'm demanding the alimony. What are you talking about? We've already broken up. I don't owe you any money. You are really an idiot, aren't you? Statute of limitations on cheating is 3 years. I mean, we've only been broken up for about a month. I have plenty of time to file for alimony. Oh no. Well, then, we're done here. Let's go through our lawyer for the rest of the application. Oh, Dad, there was one last thing I forgot to tell you. What is it? Eric looks at my daughter like he's expecting something. You have no right to call Mom an old hag. I mean, Dad, you're an old fogey to me, too. You need to stop acting like a great person but talking shit to the people around you. If you're also doing this to your colleagues, God, they must hate you a lot. I, as your daughter, hate you too. She bursted all of these comments to him. Eric was frozen in shock. He had tears in his eyes. I left the cafe with my daughter without saying goodbye to him. After that, we went straight to our other opponent, Eric's lover. We were supposed to meet at another cafe. When my daughter and I went there, the woman was already there. She was waiting for us, smoking a cigarette. What do you two want for me? To be short, I want you to pay my alimony because you're having an affair with my husband. What? Alimony? I started seeing him after he became single. That's not adultery. I showed her the same evidence I showed Eric. This proves that it was an affair. My lawyer said I could get alimony. But you're already divorced. You can't get alimony if you're already divorced. You are such an idiot. Like my ex-husband, I guess birds of a feather flock together. What are you trying to say? Just an old hug from nowhere. Ha! That's what my ex used to say to me. That is such a dumb asshole. What's the point of dating an old woman who thinks she could cover her age by the thick makeup? Who the hell do you think you are? To me, you're also an old woman, and you're just a part-time, right? I'd rather have a mom who's been working full-time and in an overqualified position. I'd say she's more independent, respectable woman. All right. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't making fun of you for being a part-time. I'm just trying to make a point that you're not even this close to be as good as my mother. What the hell is wrong with this bitch? Fuck off. I'm glad she said that to Eric's lover. Anyway, I told you about the alimony. Even if you get divorced, the statute of limitation on alimony for adultery is 3 years. You're kidding me. No, it's true. And I also sent a surprise to your house. What? Your husband will know about the affair. Okay, wait a minute. That's not what I heard. What if I got divorced? That's your business. You destroyed people's family. Don't think you can get all the benefits. The woman froze in her tracks, her face pale. My daughter and I left the restaurant feeling refreshed. After that, Eric and the woman paid me the alimony. Both of them were also charged by the fair partner's husband. They are forced to live in extreme poverty. By the way, I sent the evidence later to Eric's workplace as well. So Eric's infidelity spread throughout the company. I heard that Eric was taken his senior manager position. Also, I heard that my daughter is going to work with someone with Eric's company. She heard something about him that he was the most unpopular senior manager in the company. When he was taken the position, everyone was hooray. Well, not difficult to imagine. I couldn't help but laugh out when imagined that everyone was so satisfied with the result. The only good thing he had, his high income, was gone. No one would be interested in him anymore. At best, he'd spend the rest of his time lonely and isolated. I, on the other hand, am doing so well in both my work and private life. I will keep on visiting my daughter and friends regularly, having some hobbies and enjoying them. I like to spend my days to the fullest. Had no idea that this person who keeps on saying something moral harassment also is one of the world's husband who cheats on his wife. Fortunately, they have an excellent daughter. She's like a character in Mission Impossible. What a brilliant strategy she thinks of. The way she proved her husband's infidelity and won the alimony was also amazing. Let's hope Naomi will be free to do whatever she wants in the rest of her life. Thank you for watching till the end. Please subscribe to the channel if you like. See you again in the next video.
My name is Lucia, and I've been married for 2 years. My husband and I both work and live together in this apartment. I came home from work as usual and was preparing dinner when my husband came home. I greeted him with a smile and asked him how his day was. No different than usual. How about yours? Yeah, it was fine. I think I feel better when I'm doing something. I went back to the kitchen and finished cooking. My husband prepared dishes too. I felt a bit relaxed and thought about my dad. My dad lives in the neighboring town. Since he's getting older, I've been visiting him a lot recently. And I've suggested him to live near us and go to daycare. But he didn't want to bother my husband and me. He wouldn't accept the proposal and said it was enough for him to live as he was. I have always been concerned about my dad, who has been depressed since my mom passed away a few years ago. Recently, my dad fell down at home by accident. He is in the hospital now and receiving palliative care. But I was very worried about his condition. After we finished eating, my husband said, "Oh yes, My mom called me again today, and I told her about your dad.
Oh, really? I got a reluctant look on my face and started thinking. Sorry, but I thought I should tell her. Don't worry, they know what they are doing. And if anything happens, I'll be there for you. Okay. My husband said so, but I had a feeling that something might happen. And unfortunately, it soon came true. One night, a while later, my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law showed up late at night without notice. They came in without even saying hello and said, "I heard about your father." My mother-in-law looked at me sympathetically. Her body language was exaggerated and deliberate. My brother-in-law nodded his head and said, "I'm sorry to hear that." I tried to be as calm as possible and said, "It's okay." To be honest, I wanted them to go home as soon as possible. Both my husband and I had just come home from work then, so we were very tired. My brother-in-law sipped the tea I had made with a much loud sound. Then he suddenly turned his eyes to me and started to talk to me. "So, you're going to get the rights to the land, right? And the location of that warehouse in front of the station is nice, isn't it?" My husband and I exchanged small glances. I knew this would happen. That's what I thought. What these people want is my dad's land, which I will inherit. They want my dad to be gone as soon as possible. My mother-in-law had an unnatural smile on her face and said, "It will be a waste to leave the land as it is. That place is perfect for a parking lot. If we turn it into a parking lot, we can get a lot of money." I was almost at a loss for words. But then I said, "My father is in the hospital, and it hasn't been decided yet that I'm going to inherit the land." I almost scrunched up my face as I said it, but they were not listening to me. My mother-in-law and my brother-in-law are now talking to my husband about the advantage of using the land as a parking lot. They even showed him details on the computer they brought. My brother-in-law used to be a salesperson, so he seems to be good at this kind of thing. But from the first time I met him, I didn't like him because he was condescending and insensitive. As for my mother-in-law, from what my husband told me, she was a typical toxic parent. She was a housewife but got addicted to gambling, such as horse racing and slot machines. She kept wasting money. She never cooked or cleaned well. And she had been yelling at my husband every day since he was little. Also, she denied his personality and decided which friends he should associate with and which school he should go to. She seems to get along with my brother-in-law because they are very similar. My mother-in-law still calls my husband often and asks about everything about him. She often comes over to our house and asks him where he went, who he was with, what he was doing, and so on. And we have to stay with her for a long time. I thought I had to put up with it and have a good relationship with her because she is my mother-in-law, even if she's like that. But I've realized that it would be better for us not to get involved with each other. I heard my husband say so several times. Mother-in-law used to ask me, "Aren't you pregnant yet? You must have a problem. Every time I see her, she tells me to stop working and receive fertility treatment. She was very different from my warm-hearted parents who didn't try to control me, and she was a very difficult person to deal with. My mother-in-law judges the value of family members based on how useful they are for her. When she saw the look of annoyance on our faces, they left that day. But it didn't look like they had given up on the land at all. They kept calling us and saying something like, "I found a contractor to do the construction work." And they kept coming to our house one after another, even though I had not even inherited the land. After a while, the police told me that a car has been parked on our land near the station for a while. I was suspicious and went to check it out, and what I found was a familiar minivan. It was parked in the middle of the land. It was my brother-in-law's car. I called him and he said, "We are close friends, so that shouldn't be a problem, and that I'm being stingy." He didn't want to move his car, saying it was convenient. My husband told him to stop that again and again, but he didn't listen. So my husband yelled at him and finally got him to stop. But he did it again a few days later. The other day, my mother-in-law suddenly barged in right in front of us. "Geez, we've been trying so hard, but nothing has proceeded. If only your father would pass away soon." My brother-in-law said, "Yes, that would make that land free." They were not afraid to say that to me, but my husband couldn't stand it and said, "Neither of you two has the right to say that. Think about how Lucia feels. Go home." But it seems like they didn't care at all, and they kept coming to our house. It was very stressful for me just to have to deal with them. Often I couldn't sleep at all, and I felt like I was going crazy. A few weeks later, on a cold, windy day, my dad passed away in his sleep. The last time I spoke to him, he looked frail but healthy. I was shocked that this happened so soon, and it made my grief even deeper. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law just came to the wake and left quickly. My husband and I were relieved. It's better than having the insane people clamoring around and stirring up the funeral. After that, we had quiet days, and I felt relieved for the first time in a long time. After completing the procedures to inherit the land, I went to look at it because I had a plan. But what I found was a parking lot paved with asphalt and almost filled with cars which I didn't recognize. For a moment, I couldn't believe my eyes, wondering if I had been in the wrong place. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law arrived as soon as I called them, looking calm and confident. I asked them what was going on. "You were busy with the funeral, so I made the land into a parking lot. We even called the contractor. We were so busy these days." They were patronizing. Apparently, many of the parked cars belong to people they know, and they've already made contracts. Oh no, I never agreed to any of that. I was losing my temper, and I guess they couldn't take it anymore. My mother-in-law said, "You're my daughter-in-law, so your land is ours. There's no problem. If you move the cars, I'll sue you. You'll regret it later. I don't care what will happen to you." I was really angry at that time. My husband was really angry too and said, "I didn't think you two were so insane. I'm so disappointed." But my mother-in-law and brother-in-law were in a good mood. "Oh, come on. We'll give you some of the income. You should be more grateful to us. Oh, and the construction fee was pretty expensive. I'll bill you later." He was very aggressive and selfish. After that, we tried several times to talk to him and to stop parking the car, but he wouldn't listen to us at all. My mother-in-law looked at me like I was crazy and said, "As you are my daughter-in-law, of course your land is ours. Do you remember how much we've helped you?" Then my brother-in-law said, "Hey, when are you going to give us the land? We'll keep waiting." My mother-in-law even suggested us to get divorced. My husband was frustrated and tried his best to fight back. "Are you sure you want to do this? You'll regret it." Sometime later, I found a luxury black car parked in the parking lot. My mother-in-law and brother-in-law immediately rushed there and claimed it was illegally parked. They immediately made a sign saying, "Stop illegal parking and move it now." They put sticky tape on it. My brother-in-law was so angry that he even kicked the body of the car several times. The kicked areas were covered with shoe prints and badly dented. Then they came to us and said, "That car must belong to your acquaintance or something. Get the car out of our way right now and make the owner pay us a fee." And I said, "Well, you know what? The land is legally in my name, and my dad gave it to me, and I don't need your permission. Besides, it is the car of an important customer who you have a relationship with." "What? A customer?" I explained that the car belongs to the president of my father-in-law's client. "Are you kidding me?" My mother-in-law and brother-in-law's faces turned pale. "It's true. We were planning to sell the inherited land to the president's company. We've just closed the deal. The president of the company is a friend of my father's, and they had already been talking about selling the land before my dad passed away." By the time I finished explaining everything, they were in complete panic. Not only did they put a lot of duct tape on his car, but they also dented it badly. It wasn't long before the president of the company angrily called my father-in-law to tell him that his car had been beaten up. My father-in-law, who had turned even paler, came to the house in a panic. He then turned to my mother-in-law and brother-in-law and said, "You two are beyond insane. What have you done? Apologize to the president of the company right now and to Lucia as well." Two of them are scared of my father-in-law, so they bowed and apologized to me, wobbling and shaking. I answered, "This is no longer a problem that I can handle by myself. Even if I forgive you, I don't know what the president will say." But my brother-in-law said, "See, if only you could do something about that. All would be fine, wouldn't it?" "That's impossible." And then my mother-in-law said, "You must be close to the president." I don't know. That's enough. You did this on your own. Besides, I told you that you regret it. They became silent. Their dream of a parking lot business collapsed after only a week or so. In addition to the cost of constructing the parking lot, the money which had been paid in advance by clients had to be returned in full as a penalty. Of course, they had to pay for the repairs of the president's car as well. So they ended up owing a ridiculously large amount of debt. And of course, my mother-in-law and brother-in-law were evicted from the house they were living in. Because of this, the two of them became enemies. And whenever they saw each other, they cursed each other, saying that it's your fault that they got into this mess. The sale of the land brought in a large sum of money, and I thought about how to spend it with my husband. But ultimately, we decided to save it for the future. By the way, my husband seemed happy that he's no longer involved with my mother-in-law and brother-in-law.